It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendo. Great to have you here as always. It's our first show in the month of April. A brand new quarter in the year has started, and I hope you are not a fool on Friday. It was April Fool's Day. People had a lot of fun, I want to believe. Trying to take away our minds from all the issues in Nigeria. I mean, the last week has been quite hectic with regards to the fuel situation, and in the last 2 days, particularly in Lagos, the queues have gotten crazier. I mean, I've seen queues over almost 2 kilometers long, and I'm not sure what is really happening. We don't know if this is going to continue for another month or two. We're not necessarily getting answers. We're told that this might end by the 7th of April, and then the minister has come and said he didn't say that. He's been misquoted. So many misquotes all over the media. So we're starting a new quarter on a very, very tough note, if I may use those words, and we're going to tough it out as always as Nigerians. We did hear news about electricity hitting the lowest of lows this week as well. It's not the first time it's happening in Nigeria, but I mean, it was quite significant to hear it, especially because it came at a time when things were very tough. I mean, there's no power, there's no fuel. How do you basically function as a society if you can't even power anything or move around? But speaking of issues, one of the hardest things that happened in the last week, give or take, was definitely the crash of the Super Eagles from the Nations Cup qualifiers, and a lot of people are still not sure what happened. I am one of those people because I didn't see the game, not on purpose. I was on a trip back to Lagos, and by the time I arrived, I found out we had lost that game, and I'm not sure it has registered yet. And it's tough to understand how the Super Eagles have become this team that can basically qualify for anything. And I am a huge sports enthusiast, but I have someone here who's probably more of an expert in these issues to help me talk through the Super Eagles and their many issues. Thank you very much, Larry Peniel, for being here today.
Always a pleasure.
Okay, this is very hard for me to talk about. I know I love the Super Eagles, my favorite team in the world, before any other clubs that I support. So whenever I talk about the Super Eagles, I talk about them very passionately. I acquired a new jersey, the new jersey that was just launched. I acquired it hoping to be able to wear it next year when we go to the Nations Cup. And for the first time in our history, we've lost out in qualifying back to back for the Nations Cup. How do we make all of that sound any easier for people?
It's pathetic, it's strange, it's abysmal, it's atrocious. It's not something we should be talking about. Super Eagles not qualifying for the Nations Cup. We should actually be talking about what position we would finish, first, second, or third. At the time, we took it for granted that we were always qualifying, and we turned the third position to sort of a golden bronze because we would always qualify, and then
quarterfinals was not even acceptable.
Quarterfinals were not even acceptable, and you would definitely play the semi-finals and hopefully get to the final in one or two occasions. Having said that, we didn't particularly play in 96 and 98, but those were for political reasons. Exactly. General Sani Abacha then didn't want Nigeria to participate because of the tiff we had with South Africa as at that time. So CAF banned us. But this is even unacceptable by any stretch of imagination. 2 years ago, we didn't qualify, and now we're not going to be at the next Nations Cup. What are the factors that have actually contributed to us not qualifying? We may begin to analyze here or there. One of the things I think has actually contributed is the fact that we've had 3 coaches in this span of how many games? We played 3 games, and then we played 4 games, I beg your pardon, and we had 3 different coaches. We started with Stephen Keshi, who started the qualifiers. Powers Dabi obviously didn't want him. He also had issues with applying for the job in Cote d'Ivoire and all of that. He was forced out. Brought in Sunday Olise, Africa's Pep Guardiola. He was also he had to resign in between, and then Sam Sasa completed it. So if you look at all of this, it was as if we shot ourselves in the foot, so to speak.
So who takes the blame here now? Before we go into what we might be doing going forward, because someone has to take responsibility for this, and a lot of people have called on the NFF or the chairman of the NFF. Or is that where the issue lies? Is it with the Super Eagles? Are we just not that good?
A whole combination of factors. No matter how poor the players are, we should be able to qualify in Africa. I mean, we're contesting against Egypt, who themselves had not actually qualified for 3 tournaments on the trot.
Yeah.
So they also had more at stake than us. We had not qualified for 1, they had not qualified for 3. What did they do? They put their acts together, got a foreign coach who they give a lot of time to plan. So all the while we're haggling about bonuses, allowances for Super Eagles, they were playing friendlies with Jordan, with Burkina Faso and all of that. They were getting their team together, talking about Zamalek and Al Ahly. So they actually had, you know, sort of an advantage in that light. So having said that, I think any team Nigeria puts out any day should be able to qualify from that sort of group. Egypt, Tanzania, and Chad. Chad pulled out eventually, which some people have said shot us in the leg, in the foot anyway. But having said that, we should have qualified on the day. The blame should clearly lie with the NFF. At the end of the day, if you have 3 coaches, 3 captains for 3 different games or 4 different games, the blame should lie with NFF. We didn't qualify the last time. You didn't learn any lessons. Now we have not qualified again. It should lie with NFF.
Before we go back to the NFF, now I want to talk about the team as a whole now, because as it is now, the last 4 AFCON tournaments, we've not qualified for 3 out of the last 4, if you add the next one that's going to happen. And the one I went to, we won, which is very interesting. So, first of all, people have always said that was a fluke. You know, it was 7 games, we kind of just rabbled our way through it and managed to get to the trophy. We've been poor, basically, is what it means for the last maybe decade, is it? As a team.
As a team, we have not been too good. But having said that, you would consider the fact that the under-17s have been winning. So it's ironical that you're winning 8 great tournaments. Under-23, you're also the best in Africa. But when it comes to that transition to the Super Eagles itself, on the continent, you can't seem to qualify. But in between, we actually qualified for the World Cup. In between, you know, missing out on the Nations Cup, you know, the first time, and these last 2, we qualified for the World Cup where we got to the second round. So, are we good enough? Is it that we don't have the right support, particularly from the NFF? We owe coaches, you owe allowances, you owe bonuses, different things that actually crop up, stopping us from qualifying. I think we have ourselves to blame largely. All of the administrative issues, should we play in Kaduna, we shouldn't play, Lisa coming out with the YouTube rants and everything. I think we just didn't fly, and if you can't fly, you can't soar. So for me, we need to actually sit down and go to that. It's a cliche, but we have to go back to that proverbial drawing board. We are not getting something right, and I think NFF needs to look at itself and say, hey, we didn't get this right at all.
So what should the NFF be doing now? Because I mean, if the team is not great, the NFF has a duty to play, of course. In that, it means maybe something is wrong with the selection of coaches who is not selecting players properly or whatever it is. So what should the NFF be doing now? People have said, resign, Amaju Pinnick. Is resignation going to solve this? And if he doesn't resign, what should he be looking at now?
Unfortunately, resignation will not solve this problem, but I would suggest that he has to actually appoint a coach as soon as possible, and I would suggest a local lad. All of this noise about foreign coaches is
But
really,
there's a theory that we've had 3 now, like you've said, in a row, and they haven't given us the results we want. I mean, one gave us a Nations Cup, thankfully, and we did quite well at the World Cup as well. But with regards to the 3 times we failed to qualify now have all been my local coaches.
Very true. What sort of support have they had? Is it by appointing a local coach, so to speak, a Nigerian coach, and then you give him 3 months salary up front and then you don't pay him anymore? Is it when your under-23s are going to the camp, they have one set of jersey and they have to wash that jersey the night before so that it gets dried before the next day? Is it that you are owing them allowances? What sort of support? So if a foreign coach comes to Nigeria with this same structure, with this same support, is destined to fail. You're planning for failure, all right? If you are going to bring in a coach, give him a house, say, in Abuja or Lagos, give him a staff car, give him a driver, give him an orderly or whatever it is that will make his job successful. Give him all of the competitive games that he will need, all of the friendlies, and support him. Don't just say you want to bring in a foreign coach.
Why are these things hard to do? Because, I mean, Olise talked about it a lot, the fact that he didn't even have a house. Was it funding? What is the problem?
I honestly don't know. And I thought someone like Amaju Pinegu, all of the background is hard, with marketing and all of the marketing communication, will be able to bring funding into Nigerian sports. Olise mentioned the fact that he stayed in hotel. I mean, at this level, you should be able to make your coach to be comfortable on the job. And I think that, so it's not about you bringing a foreign coach. It's about the local lads who are able to do a job thoroughly. I mean, Barrister Chris Green, the head of the NFF Technical Committee, came out to say Olise should keep quiet that time when Olise was talking about the fact that he had not been paid, that all other coaches are not making noise, even though they have not.
That made it
as
better.
if that is the norm, as if that made it better because Amunike and Sasa had not been paid. So Olise, why are you talking about it as if it's a big deal? It is a big deal in Nigeria because if you bring a Jose Mourinho or a Zinedine Zidane to Nigeria, you dare not owe them for a day on the 25th. These guys are used to receiving monthly alerts. So on the 25th, you dare not owe them. So how is a foreign coach going to work in Nigeria in this same environment?
Have we exhausted our local coaches?
No.
Pool now.
No.
So if you're going to appoint someone now, because it looks like, I don't know how the relationship with Stephen Keshi right now is. Amadou Shuaibu has said, you know what, I've done too many backup plans for you guys. I don't think I want to do one more. Olisa doesn't look like he will be called back, of course. I don't know if ever, at least not soon. Siasa has a job, I want to believe, with the under 23s, and so does Amunike. So who are the people we should be looking at now if you insist we should not go for it?
Very good question, and I'll answer with the Brazilian example. Remember, Brazil at some point also recycled coaches. Felipe Scolari came back, Dunga is back. These are coaches who had actually coached Brazil at some point. Yeah. It's not as if these coaches are failures in themselves. It is the environment, it is the institutions that has made them to actually fail. So that you're bringing a foreign coach doesn't necessarily mean a foreign coach will do well. I'll suggest we stick with the guys who have been doing the job. Amunike has done a very good job with the under-17s. He was with Manu Garba at the under-17s, went himself to the under-17 and also won. He's been promoted now to the under-20. Is Amunike good or not? Siasa also did a very good job with the last Olympic team in 2008. He's also doing a very good job now, won the under-23 in Africa. Is he good or bad? Keshi also qualified us to the World Cup, got to the second round, won the African Nations Cup. Is Keshi a bad coach? So there is nothing like a bad local coach. There is just bad administration, bad structure, bad institutions, bad support structure for all of these coaches. So I'll suggest we keep recycling. Even after recycling all of these lads that have played for the Super Eagles at the highest level, we could go to the Kadri Kanas, the Okemodis, the Imak Pakabos of your Rangers, there are so many in the local scene. Even if we are moved by the white skin, so to speak, there's Maurice Coman, who is a fantastic guy in our local, a foreign local coach. And this is a sort of foreign coach who will be going from venue to venue watching the Nigerian league. We don't want a foreign coach who will coach via Skype or YouTube. We want a coach who will stay. All right. So for me, we should keep trying all of these local lads, get the institution right, get the support structure right, and hopefully the coaches will come through.
We always talk about the fact that we shouldn't have government involvement in football. I mean, FIFA frowns against it completely, and sometimes it gets you banned from the sports completely. But we know the sports minister has talked about how he's unhappy, and he's trying to call a meeting and I'm not sure what he's trying to broker. But what should government do at this stage? Because I mean, NFF needs money, and the government gives them this money, whether we like it or not. As much as the government is supposed to be involved, they also sort of fund the NFF. So what should NFF be requesting for, and how does government ensure that maybe these funds go to the right places? Because we've always heard that NFF is a cesspit of corruption and all of that. Not to say that this is what's happening now, but they have that reputation. So what should government be doing?
Pull off
without necessarily getting involved.
Pull out. Stop football sponsorship. Pull out. Don't put a penny of our hard-earned money, of taxpayers' money, into football anymore. We're tired. Sponsor chess, sponsor basketball, sponsor weightlifting, sponsor any other sort of sport. Don't put a penny again. Let NFF source for funds. They have the right acumen to actually see if they can raise funds. They've been saying, oh, we can do this, capacity building, we can do all of that. All right? And this is the best period. We're not going for Nations Cup next year anyway. All right, so we have a lot of corporate bodies in Nigeria. Approach them. Let's see how well you can go. But government should stop funding football. By the time you put in hard-earned money, and you know all of these corporate bodies, they demand accountability before they put one penny into football. By the time they do all that, we begin to sit correctly, and then we begin to do the right things, and hopefully our football will grow.
Thank you very much, Larry Peniel. It's a very tough pill to swallow for Nigerians. But on the bright side, the Olympics are coming. We have the 23s going there.
True that.
So maybe we could have another dream team do us proud again when things are really down for Nigeria. Thank you very much for being here today.
Always a pleasure.
When we come back, we'll be talking more about Nigeria's many problems, sadly. Please stay with us.